Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, ice-covered landscape. The wind carries the scent of pine and frozen earth. Your breath forms delicate clouds in the frigid air as you gaze across what appears to be an unremarkable plain of snow and scattered boulders. But beneath your feet lies evidence of something extraordinary. Something that happened approximately 12,000 years ago that fundamentally altered the course of human civilization, rewrote Earth's geological history, and remains one of the most perplexing scientific mysteries of our time. What you're standing on is not just snow and rock. It's the aftermath of a global cataclysm that modern science still struggles to fully explain. An event so profound that it may have erased advanced civilizations and reset the clock on human development. The evidence surrounds us, from strange geological anomalies across multiple continents to curious archaeological findings that simply shouldn't exist according to our current understanding of history. Ancient structures with unexplainable precision, shared myths across isolated cultures, geological scars with no clear origin. Perhaps most curious are the stories. Myths shared by cultures separated by vast oceans, all describing a similar global catastrophe. Stories dismissed as primitive fantasies until geological evidence began suggesting they might contain kernels of truth buried within metaphorical language. How could ancient peoples across disconnected continents share nearly identical accounts of global destruction if they never communicated? What if these weren't myths at all, but memories passed down through countless generations, preserving the truth of what happened? Tonight, we explore the evidence for a devastating worldwide event that occurred approximately 12,000 years ago. We'll examine geological anomalies, archaeological paradoxes, and the strange connections between ancient texts that might reveal what really happened. This isn't merely an academic question. Understanding this event could fundamentally change our conception of human history, technological development, and our species' vulnerability to cosmic and planetary forces we've only recently begun to comprehend. The answers lie scattered across diverse fields: astronomy, geology, archaeology, mythology, and even cutting-edge physics. Together, they paint a picture of an ancient world very different from what we've been taught, and a catastrophe of almost unimaginable scale. Tonight, we step into the gap between established history and emerging evidence. We'll examine what might have happened during those pivotal years, and why the clues suggest a truth far more extraordinary than conventional science has been willing to accept. Modern academia has long dismissed these connections as coincidence. But as we'll discover, the evidence has become increasingly difficult to ignore. Strange geological formations, inexplicable technological anomalies, and a haunting similarity of flood myths from every corner of the globe. What if the truth about our past is far more complex and astonishing than we've been led to believe? What if advanced civilizations rose and fell long before recorded history began? And what if the evidence has been lying in plain sight, waiting for us to connect the scattered pieces? The implications extend beyond academic curiosity. If we misunderstand our past, we may fundamentally misunderstand our present and our future. The forces that shaped our ancient world could return, and our ignorance might leave us vulnerable in ways we've never considered. Tonight, we'll examine the mounting evidence that approximately 12,000 years ago, Earth experienced a catastrophic event of global proportions, one that may have reset human civilization and erased evidence of advanced societies that existed before our recorded history began. The scientific establishment has long resisted these ideas. But as new discoveries emerge and analytical technologies advance, the conventional narrative has begun to crumble. The evidence points to a hidden chapter in human history, one that rewrites everything we thought we knew. You're about to embark on a journey through time, evidence, and speculation. We'll separate fact from fiction, examine competing theories, and explore the profound implications of what might be the most significant event in human history that almost no one fully understands. The truth, as we'll discover, is both simpler and more extraordinary than fiction can imagine. It speaks to our origins, our capabilities, and perhaps even our destiny. And it begins with a simple question that science still cannot definitively answer. What exactly happened 12,000 years ago that changed everything? And why has this critical moment been obscured in the shadows of prehistory for so long? Join me as we examine the evidence, explore the theories, and piece together one of the greatest mysteries of our ancient past. The answers might change how you see not just human history, but human possibility. Chapter 2: The Great Discontinuity. The conventional narrative of human development follows a comfortingly simple arc. For most of our 300,000-year existence as Homo sapiens, we lived as hunter-gatherers, slowly developing basic tools and rudimentary cultures until the agricultural revolution began around 10,000 BCE. This watershed moment supposedly triggered the first settlements, followed by villages, then cities, writing systems, and eventually the civilizations recorded in our history books. Progress was slow, methodical, and largely linear, a gradual crawl from primitive beginnings to modern complexity. But what if this narrative is fundamentally incomplete? What if the timeline we've accepted contains a critical discontinuity, a moment when something extraordinary interrupted the steady progression of human development and perhaps erased evidence of achievements we can barely imagine? The stakes of this question extend far beyond academic curiosity. If advanced civilizations existed before our recorded history began, and were subsequently destroyed by a global cataclysm, it would force us to reconsider fundamental assumptions about human capability, technological development, and our vulnerability to cosmic forces. Consider the implications. If societies achieve significant technological or cultural sophistication before being decimated by a natural disaster, it would mean our species has repeatedly climbed the ladder of development, only to fall back to primitive conditions through forces beyond our control. This cycle of advancement and collapse suggests a deeply unsettling possibility that despite our apparent mastery of the natural world, we remain profoundly vulnerable to catastrophic events that could reset civilization and erase most evidence of our existence within a geological instant. The clues to this hidden history lie scattered across disciplines. Geologists have identified evidence of massive, rapid climate shifts approximately 12,000 years ago, including sea level rises of over 400 feet as ice sheets collapsed. These changes occurred with surprising suddenness. Archaeologists continue discovering anomalous sites that challenge conventional timelines, sophisticated structures that appear to predate the supposed emergence of such capabilities by thousands of years. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, with massive carved stone pillars from 11,600 years ago. Mythologists note the striking similarities in flood stories across disconnected cultures worldwide, from the epic of Gilgamesh to indigenous American tales, from Nordic sagas to Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime stories. These narratives share specific details that defy coincidental explanation. Astronomers have identified numerous near-Earth objects and potential impact events throughout Earth's history. The geological record confirms that catastrophic impacts and near misses are not merely theoretical. They have repeatedly altered Earth's climate and ecology throughout its history. What connects these diverse threads is timing. Many converge around a period approximately 12,000 years ago, a pivotal moment when something dramatic appears to have occurred on a global scale, potentially erasing evidence of advanced societies and forcing survivors to rebuild from scratch. If true, this would explain one of archaeology's most persistent puzzles: why seemingly advanced megalithic structures appear with little evident technological buildup, as if sophisticated engineering knowledge emerged fully formed rather than through gradual development. It would clarify why diverse ancient cultures share myths of a golden age followed by destruction. These wouldn't be imaginative fictions, but fragmented memories of actual events. passed down through generations until their literal meaning became obscured by metaphorical language. Most significantly, it would suggest that our understanding of human potential has been artificially constrained by a truncated view of history. If advanced societies rose and fell before our conventional timeline begins, then many capabilities we consider modern may have been independently discovered and lost repeatedly. This perspective transforms our view of civilization from a steady, linear progression to a more complex pattern of cycles, rises and falls driven by forces both within human control and far beyond it. It suggests our current technological society may be less unique than we imagine. The implications extend to our future as well. If global catastrophes have repeatedly reset human development, then understanding these events becomes critical to ensuring the survival and continuity of our current civilization. We may be overdue for similar challenges. For individuals, this hidden history offers a profound shift in self-understanding. The achievements we attribute to modern ingenuity may represent the rediscovery of knowledge our ancestors once possessed. Our capabilities may be less unprecedented than we've been led to believe. This isn't merely about correcting historical records. It's about recognizing cycles of vulnerability that continue to shape our existence. By understanding what happened 12,000 years ago, we gain insight into threats our species has faced before and will likely face again. The evidence suggests that between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago, Earth experienced a series of devastating events, possibly including cosmic impacts, massive solar flares, or other astronomical phenomena that triggered abrupt climate change, rising seas, and widespread destruction. This period coincides precisely with the mysterious disappearance of megafauna across multiple continents, the sudden end of the Clovis culture in North America, and the beginning of the Younger Dryas, a period of sudden, intense cold that interrupted the warming trend at the end of the last ice age. What makes this event truly significant is what may have been lost. If human societies had achieved greater sophistication than conventional history acknowledges, then the cataclysm wouldn't merely have killed millions. It would have erased evidence of achievements we're only beginning to rediscover. Chapter 3. Echoes from the Forgotten Past. To understand the significance of what may have happened 12,000 years ago, we must first consider what the world looked like before this proposed cataclysm. It was a planet emerging from ice. The last great glaciation was ending, and Earth was warming rapidly. Vast ice sheets still covered much of North America and Northern Europe, but they were retreating. Sea levels were dramatically lower than today, approximately 400 feet below current levels. This created land bridges connecting continents and exposed vast coastal plains now hidden beneath the waves. This world supported an extraordinary diversity of life. Megafauna roamed across most continents: woolly mammoths and mastodons, giant ground sloths, saber-toothed cats, and countless other massive species. These animals had thrived for hundreds of thousands of years, adapting to Ice Age conditions. Human populations were dispersed but widespread. Homo sapiens had already migrated to every continent except Antarctica. Most lived as hunter-gatherers, though emerging evidence suggests some groups may have established more complex social structures than previously recognized. According to conventional archaeology, these humans possessed stone tools, basic art, and primitive social organizations. The first agricultural settlements were supposedly still thousands of years in the future. Cities, writing systems, and complex civilizations lay even more distant on the historical horizon. But scattered across the globe lie anomalies that challenge this narrative. Massive stone structures whose construction methods baffle modern engineers. Artifacts suggesting sophisticated astronomical knowledge. And myths describing technologies and capabilities that supposedly wouldn't exist for millennia. Consider Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a site so ancient it predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years. Discovered in 1994, This complex features massive T-shaped pillars, some weighing 16 tons, arranged in precise circular patterns and covered with sophisticated carvings of animals and abstract symbols. The site has been radiocarbon dated to approximately 9600 BCE, exactly the time frame of our proposed global event. More perplexing still, the builders deliberately buried the entire complex around 8000 BCE, preserving it for modern archaeologists to discover thousands of years later. Orthodox archaeology struggles to explain how supposedly primitive hunter-gatherers quarried, transported, carved, and erected these massive stones without wheeled vehicles, metal tools, or even pottery. The site's sophistication appears with no evident precursors or developmental stages. Similar anomalies exist worldwide. The enigmatic Sphinx in Egypt shows signs of water erosion, suggesting it may be thousands of years older than officially acknowledged. Underground structures like Derinkuyu in Turkey hint at advanced engineering knowledge in remote antiquity. Underwater structures off the coasts of Japan, India, and other locations reveal what appear to be intentionally created formations now submerged beneath rising post-ice age seas. These could represent evidence of coastal civilizations destroyed and hidden by the same cataclysm that ended the Ice Age. Perhaps most telling are the shared myths found in disparate cultures worldwide. Over 200 distinct flood myths exist across human societies, from the biblical Noah to the Sumerian Utnapishtim, from the Hindu Manu to the Greek Deucalion, all describing similar events with remarkable consistency. These stories typically include several key elements: divine warning about an impending flood, instructions to build a vessel, the destruction of most living things, and eventual receding of waters. May specify that the flood was worldwide and accompanied by other calamities like fire from the sky. For centuries, scholars dismissed these as primitive attempts to explain local flooding events or morality tales about divine punishment. But what if they represent something more profound? The cultural memory of an actual global catastrophe that decimated human populations worldwide. This perspective grows more compelling when we examine other widespread mythological motifs. Stories of a previous golden age of advancement appear in Greek, Hindu, Egyptian, and Mesoamerican traditions, all suggesting humanity once possessed greater knowledge that was subsequently lost. Ancient texts like the Vedas describe flying machines, weapons of extraordinary power, and cities of impossible sophistication. The Egyptian pyramid texts contain sophisticated astronomical knowledge. Sumerian records list kings ruling for incredible spans before a great flood changed everything. While easily dismissed as fantasy from a modern perspective, these myths take on new significance when viewed alongside geological evidence suggesting a global catastrophe did occur, precisely when these traditions claim, approximately 12,000 years ago during the Younger Dryas period. Recent ice core samples from Greenland and Antarctica reveal an abrupt planetary cooling event beginning around 12,800 years ago and lasting roughly 1,200 years. This period, known as the Younger Dryas, saw temperatures plummet by as much as 18 degrees Fahrenheit in some regions. This wasn't a gradual change, but occurred with shocking rapidity, within decades or possibly even years. The speed of this shift defies conventional explanations for climate change and suggests something extraordinary disrupted Earth's climate systems almost instantaneously in geological terms. What could cause such a sudden, dramatic change? The leading scientific explanation involves meltwater from the retreating North American ice sheet disrupting ocean circulation patterns. But emerging evidence points to another possibility entirely, one that connects directly to ancient myths of fire and flood. In 2007, researchers proposed the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, suggesting that a fragmented comet or asteroid struck Earth approximately 12,800 years ago. The impacts, they argued, triggered massive wildfires, atmospheric disruption, and the sudden climate reversal of the Younger Dryas. Chapter 4. The Evidence Beneath Our Feet. The first compelling evidence for a catastrophic event 12,000 years ago comes from the geological record itself. Across North America, Europe, and parts of South America, researchers have identified a distinctive layer in the soil that dates precisely to the beginning of the Younger Dryas period. This thin, black layer contains unusual materials rarely found in such concentrations in Earth's crust: nanodiamonds, magnetic spherules, platinum, iridium, and other elements typically associated with extraterrestrial objects. The layer appears consistently at the same time horizon across continents. Most telling are the nanodiamonds, microscopic diamonds that form under conditions of extreme heat and pressure. On Earth, these typically form during impact events or nuclear explosions. Their presence in the Younger Dryas boundary layer suggests a catastrophic event of enormous energy. Similarly, magnetic spherules, tiny balls of iron, nickel, and other metals, typically form during cosmic impacts or intense industrial processes. Finding these materials across multiple continents at exactly the same geological moment strongly suggests a global-scale event rather than a local phenomenon. The platinum and iridium concentrations are particularly significant. These elements are rare in Earth's crust, but common in asteroids and comets. Their presence in elevated levels within this boundary layer follows the same pattern seen in the KT boundary that marks the dinosaur extinction. What makes this evidence so compelling is its consistency. The same materials in similar concentrations appear at the same time horizon across vast geographical distances. This pattern strongly suggests an extraterrestrial impact or series of impacts with global consequences. Further supporting the impact hypothesis are the discovery of potential impact craters dating to this time period. The Hiawatha crater beneath Greenland's ice sheet, discovered in 2018, measures nearly 20 miles across and has been provisionally dated to the Younger Dryas boundary. Additional suspected impact sites have been identified beneath the ice of Antarctica and in various locations across North America. If confirmed, these would suggest not a single impact but multiple strikes from fragments of a disintegrating comet, precisely the scenario described in some ancient texts. Perhaps most compelling is the timing. This boundary layer appears exactly at the moment when numerous megafauna species suddenly went extinct. In North America alone, 35 genera of large mammals disappeared within what appears geologically to be a single moment in time. Mammoths, mastodons, giant ground sloths, American camels, American horses, dire wolves, and dozens of other species that had thrived for hundreds of thousands of years vanished simultaneously. This mass extinction event defies explanation through gradual climate change or human hunting alone. The abruptness of these extinctions is key. These animals had survived numerous prior climate shifts, including previous warming periods. Yet something about this particular moment proved catastrophic, eliminating approximately 70% of North America's large mammal species essentially overnight in geological terms. Alongside these extinctions, we find evidence of massive continent-wide wildfires. Charcoal deposits and carbon-rich black mats appear across North America at the Younger Dryas boundary. These suggest fires of unprecedented scale, potentially burning across entire continents simultaneously. Chemical analysis of these fire residues indicates temperatures far exceeding those of normal forest fires. The evidence suggests fires hot enough, rock and soil, consistent with the thermal radiation from multiple atmospheric impacts or airbursts from fragmenting cosmic objects. These fires would have generated enormous clouds of smoke and dust, potentially triggering the sudden global cooling of the Younger Dryas period. The concept of an impact winter is well established in scientific literature, particularly from studies of the dinosaur-killing Chicxulub impact. The sedimentary record also shows evidence of massive, sudden flooding events. Across North America, geologists have identified features known as scablands, vast areas where the landscape appears to have been scoured by enormous volumes of water moving at incredible speeds. The channeled scablands of Washington State are the most famous example. Once thought to have formed gradually over millions of years, they're now recognized as the result of catastrophic flooding when ice dams containing glacial Lake Missoula repeatedly collapsed during the late Ice Age. Similar features exist across Canada, the northern United States, and northern Europe, all pointing to extraordinary flooding events that coincide with the Younger Dryas boundary. These floods would have rapidly raised sea levels, potentially inundating coastal settlements now lost beneath the waves. The archaeological record shows an equally significant disruption. The sophisticated Clovis culture of North America, known for its distinctive stone points, vanishes precisely at the Younger Dryas boundary. Above this layer, different tool technologies appear, suggesting a cultural reset after catastrophe. Similar cultural discontinuities appear globally at this time horizon. In Europe, the Magdalenian culture disappears. In the Middle East, we see the mysterious beginnings of settlement at sites like Göbekli Tepe immediately after this event, as if survivors were beginning to rebuild. These coinciding events, mass extinctions, evidence of cosmic impacts, massive wildfires, extraordinary flooding, and cultural discontinuities, all clustering within the same narrow time window, suggest something truly catastrophic occurred approximately 12,800 years ago. But the most provocative evidence may be what we're not seeing: the potential remains of advanced coastal civilizations that would now lie hundreds of feet beneath our oceans. Post-Ice Age sea level rise has submerged over 27 million square kilometers of formerly habitable coastal land. If advanced societies existed primarily along these now submerged coastlines, the most logical locations for early maritime civilizations, evidence of their existence would be largely inaccessible to conventional archaeology. Their remains would lie beneath hundreds of feet of water. Recent underwater explorations have begun identifying what appear to be artificial structures at various locations worldwide. Off the coast of Japan, the controversial Yonaguni monument shows geometric features that some researchers argue could not have formed naturally. Similar underwater formations have been identified near Cuba, Malta, India, and throughout the Mediterranean. While many mainstream archaeologists dismiss these as natural formations, others see potential evidence of sophisticated construction now hidden beneath the waves. The most tantalizing possibility is that we've been looking in the wrong places all along. If advanced pre-cataclysm societies were primarily coastal, their major centers would now lie underwater, while only their more primitive inland outposts or refugee settlements would remain accessible. This would explain the apparent sudden emergence of sophisticated knowledge in post-cataclysm societies like those that built Göbekli Tepe. These wouldn't represent the spontaneous development of advanced capabilities, but rather the reconstruction efforts of catastrophe survivors. It would also explain the curious patterns seen at many megalithic sites worldwide, where the oldest constructions are often the most impressive and sophisticated, with later additions showing declining rather than advancing capabilities. This pattern suggests inherited knowledge that gradually faded. What's most striking about all this evidence is how it converges around a single time window, the Younger Dryas period beginning approximately 12,800 years ago and lasting until about 11,600 years ago. This convergence cannot be easily dismissed as coincidence. Something extraordinary happened during this period, something that left traces in the geological record, in the archaeological evidence, and in the myths and legends of cultures worldwide. Something that may have reset the clock on human civilization and erased evidence of advanced societies. As we continue our exploration, we'll examine what this event might have been, how it could have affected human societies worldwide, and why evidence for advanced pre-cataclysm civilizations may have been systematically misinterpreted or dismissed by conventional archaeology. The implications are profound. If human societies achieved significant advancement before being decimated 12,800 years ago, then our entire understanding of human history and potential requires revision. We may be rediscovering capabilities our distant ancestors already possessed. But perhaps most unsettling is the question this evidence forces us to confront. If such a catastrophe happened once, could it happen again? And if it did, would our modern civilization prove any more resilient than those that may have come before? The answer remains hidden in plain sight. Chapter 5. The anomalies science struggles to explain. As we've explored the geological and archaeological evidence for a global cataclysm 12,000 years ago, we encounter a troubling reality. Numerous archaeological discoveries simply don't fit within conventional historical timelines. These anomalies challenge our fundamental understanding of human development. Orthodox archaeology maintains that sophisticated engineering, advanced mathematics, and precise astronomical knowledge emerged gradually with the rise of agricultural civilizations. Yet across the globe, we find evidence suggesting these capabilities may have existed long before they should have. Consider Göbekli Tepe again, not just its existence, but its deliberate burial. Around 8000 BCE, after having stood for approximately 1,600 years, the entire complex was intentionally covered with earth and debris. This wasn't abandonment, but a careful preservation, as if protecting something sacred. Why would hunter-gatherers with supposedly limited resources invest extraordinary effort to bury what they had spent generations building? One provocative possibility is that they were preserving knowledge, creating a time capsule containing astronomical information crucial for their descendants. The pillars at Göbekli Tepe feature carvings that some researchers interpret as astronomical symbols. The site itself appears aligned to track celestial events. If these interpretations are correct, the complex represents not just a temple, but an ancient observatory preserving sophisticated cosmic knowledge. Similar astronomical alignments appear in megalithic structures worldwide. From Stonehenge to the pyramids of Egypt, from Newgrange in Ireland to Chichen Itza in Mexico, structures separated by vast distances and supposedly built by unconnected cultures all demonstrate precise celestial orientations. These alignments often track complex astronomical cycles requiring observations over many generations. The precession of the equinoxes, for example, a 25,920-year cycle caused by Earth's axial wobble, appears encoded in numerous ancient sites despite requiring sophisticated long-term observation to detect. How did supposedly primitive societies possess this knowledge? The conventional explanation suggests each culture independently developed complex astronomical understanding. But a more economical explanation might be that this knowledge descended from an earlier, shared source. Perhaps most puzzling are the numerous ancient structures built using massive stone blocks, fitted together with such precision that even today, we would struggle to replicate their construction. The trilithon at Baalbek, Lebanon, includes stones weighing over 800 tons moved and placed with remarkable accuracy. In Peru, both the famous Machu Picchu and the less-known Sacsayhuaman fortress display stonework with blocks weighing up to 200 tons, cut with multiple interlocking angles and fitted so precisely that not even a credit card can slide between them. Modern engineers remain baffled by these achievements. The Great Pyramid at Giza presents perhaps the most famous engineering anomaly. Built with approximately 2.3 million blocks averaging 2.5 tons each, it contains stones weighing up to 80 tons. Its base is level to within just 2.1 centimeters across 13.1 acres, a precision difficult to achieve even today. More impressive still, the pyramid incorporates sophisticated mathematical knowledge supposedly unavailable to its builders. Its dimensions encode the value of pi, the golden ratio, and precise astronomical alignments. Its latitude places it exactly at Earth's landmass center. These achievements become even more perplexing when we consider conventional archaeological timelines. The Great Pyramid was supposedly built around 2560 BCE, yet shows greater precision than structures built thousands of years later. This suggests knowledge being lost rather than progressively gained. Similar anomalies appear in ancient texts, describing technologies that shouldn't have existed in their time. The Baghdad Battery, dated to the Parthian period, 250 BCE to 224 CE, appears to be a functional galvanic cell capable of producing electricity millennia before its official discovery. Ancient Indian texts describe flying machines called vimanas with detailed technical specifications. The Greek inventor Archytas reportedly created a steam-powered flying device around 400 BCE Chinese. Texts reference flying vehicles thousands of years before modern aviation. While easy to dismiss as mythology, these accounts take on new significance when considered alongside physical anomalies like the Egyptian light bulbs depicted in reliefs at Dendera Temple, carvings that bear striking resemblance to modern electrical lighting systems. Out-of-place artifacts create further contradictions. The Antikythera mechanism, recovered from a shipwreck dated to 60 BCE, contains precision gears that track astronomical cycles with accuracy exceeding anything else created for the next 1,500 years. Its sophistication suggests an advanced technological tradition. In South America, we find countless examples of ancient artwork depicting what appear to be modern aircraft, including objects with aerodynamic design that, when replicated as scale models, prove capable of stable flight. These contradict our understanding of pre-Columbian technological capabilities. Perhaps most disturbing are ancient maps that shouldn't exist, charts showing geographical features unknown to their supposed creators. The Piri Reis map, compiled in 1513 but based on much older source materials, accurately depicts the coastline of Antarctica beneath its ice sheet. This coastline was only mapped by modern science using radar and sonar technology in the Vaijin 1950s. How could ancient cartographers know the contours of land hidden beneath miles of ice for thousands of years unless they had mapped it before the ice formed? Similarly, the Orontius Phineas map from 1531 shows Antarctica with rivers and mountains where modern surveys have confirmed their existence beneath the ice. These maps suggest a sophisticated maritime civilization explored and accurately mapped the globe long before conventional history allows. Ancient knowledge of chemistry presents another category of anomalies. The Damascus steel used in sword making from 300 BCE to 1700 CE contained carbon nanotubes and nanowires, microscopic structures only discovered by modern science in 1991 and impossible to see without electron microscopes. The Greek fire, used by Byzantine forces, was a mysterious incendiary weapon that could burn on water and prove devastating in naval warfare. Despite numerous attempts, modern chemists still debate its exact composition. This suggests sophisticated chemical knowledge, supposedly unavailable at the time. Ancient concrete formulations present similar contradictions. Roman concrete grows stronger over time and resists seawater degradation better than modern versions. The precise recipe was lost for centuries, suggesting advanced chemical understanding that was later forgotten rather than built upon. Equally puzzling are the ever-burning lamps, described in numerous ancient accounts, light sources allegedly discovered in sealed tombs still burning after centuries. While these might be dismissed as fantasy, similar descriptions appear across various unconnected cultures, suggesting a common technological source. Language development presents further anomalies. According to conventional linguistics, languages grow more complex over time. Yet many ancient languages like Sanskrit, Sumerian, and Classical Latin show extraordinary grammatical complexity and precise vocabulary that defies the expected pattern of development. Sanskrit in particular contains systematic grammatical structures so precise they've been compared to modern computer programming languages. Its linguistic sophistication appears suddenly in the historical record, fully formed, contradicting the expected pattern of gradual linguistic evolution. Perhaps most compelling are the mathematical contradictions. Ancient knowledge of 0 pi, prime numbers, and complex geometrical principles often appears without clear developmental pathways. The sophisticated Babylonian understanding of Pythagorean principles predates Pythagoras himself by over 1,000 years. The ancient Indian Shilpa Sutras, dating from 800 BCE, contain precise calculations of irrational numbers and sophisticated geometric principles. Similarly, the Rhind papyrus shows Egyptian mathematicians possessed advanced knowledge of fractions, algebra, and geometry around 1650 BCE. These examples collectively suggest something troubling for conventional historical narratives. Rather than a steady progression from primitive to advanced, the archaeological record often shows the opposite: sophisticated knowledge appearing fully formed, then degrading over time. This pattern aligns perfectly with what we would expect to find following a global catastrophe: survivors of an advanced civilization struggling to preserve crucial knowledge as they rebuild from devastation. Their greatest achievements wouldn't represent new discoveries, but recovered ancient wisdom. What makes these anomalies particularly significant is their distribution pattern. They cluster both temporally, appearing most prominently shortly after the Younger Dryas period, and geographically, concentrated along ancient coastlines and areas likely to have been refuges for catastrophe survivors. The conventional explanation requires us to believe that dozens of unconnected cultures independently developed identical sophisticated knowledge about astronomy, mathematics, engineering, and various sciences. The simpler explanation might be that they shared a common source. Chapter 6: When Myths Become Memories. Every culture on Earth preserves myths of a great flood that destroyed an earlier world. These stories share remarkable similarities despite originating among peoples, separated by vast oceans and countless generations. They describe a global deluge sent by divine powers that nearly eradicated humanity. In the biblical account, God warns Noah to build an ark to survive the coming waters. In Mesopotamian tradition, Utnapishtim receives similar instructions from the god Ea. Hindu scriptures describe Manu being warned by a fish to build a boat before the deluge. Mesoamerican myths tell of survivors in reed vessels. What's striking isn't just the presence of flood myths, but their specific shared details. Divine warning, instructions to build vessels, rainfall lasting specific periods, landings on mountains, sending birds to find land, and eventual receding of waters. These precise elements appear across isolated cultures worldwide. For centuries, scholars dismissed these as symbolic moral tales or exaggerated accounts of local flooding. But geological evidence of rapid sea level rise following the Younger Dryas period suggests these might instead be cultural memories of actual events, transmitted through generations as cautionary tales. Sea levels rose approximately 400 feet after the last ice age. This wasn't a gradual process, but included sudden pulses of rapid flooding as ice dams collapsed and glacial lakes emptied into oceans. The most dramatic of these meltwater pulses occurred shortly after the Younger Dryas period ended. If coastal civilizations existed during this time, precisely where we would expect early maritime societies to develop, they would have experienced catastrophic flooding as seas rose. Their survivors, fleeing inland, would have carried memories of these events that eventually became the flood myths we know today. The timing aligns perfectly with the end of the Younger Dryas period around 11,600 years ago, exactly when Plato claimed Atlantis was destroyed in a single day and night of misfortune and sank beneath the waves. This date also matches when many ancient cultures place their creation or recreation. But flood myths represent only one category of shared stories suggesting a lost chapter of human history. Equally widespread are myths of a previous golden age when humans possessed greater knowledge, lived in harmony with nature, and enjoyed capabilities now lost to us. Greek tradition speaks of a golden age under Kronos when humans lived like gods. Hindu scriptures describe the Satya Yuga when people lived for thousands of years with perfect health and supernatural abilities. Chinese legends recount the age of perfect virtue under the Yellow Emperor. These Golden Age myths typically end with a fall or catastrophe that reduced humanity to its current diminished state. This narrative pattern appears across cultures that had no known contact, suggesting they might preserve memories of an actual advanced society destroyed by a global cataclysm. Egyptian, Sumerian, and Mayan texts all describe previous worlds or cycles of civilization destroyed by catastrophes. The Maya specifically identified 5 previous suns or world ages, with the transition between the 4th and 5th occurring after a devastating flood, timing that aligns with the Younger Dryas period. Ancient texts also describe what appeared to be advanced technologies. The Indian Vaimanika Shastra contains detailed information about aircraft construction, including instructions for building machines capable of remarkable maneuvers. The text distinguishes between different types of flying vehicles with specific capabilities. The Samarangana Sutradhara describes machines made of lightweight wood with mercury engines that generated mighty energy. It details flying vehicles called Vimanas with the ability to travel vast distances. While easily dismissed as fantasy, these descriptions contain surprisingly specific technical details. Similar technological references appear in the ancient Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, Egyptian texts describing boats of the sky, and Chinese chronicles mentioning flying vehicles used by early emperors. These accounts share technical details despite emerging from cultures separated by vast distances. Biblical references to the Ark of the Covenant describe an object with properties resembling an electrical capacitor, complete with insulated carrying methods and warnings about lethal discharges. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah bears striking similarities to eyewitness accounts of nuclear explosions. The Hindu Mahabharata describes weapons called Brahmastra that could destroy entire armies and contaminate land and water for years afterward. Its description of a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe and the subsequent effects matches modern descriptions of nuclear weapons. These accounts become more significant when considered alongside physical evidence. Vitrified stone forts in Scotland show signs of exposure to temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt rock, but with no evidence of conventional fire. Similar vitrification appears at sites in France and Germany. At Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan, archaeologists discovered skeletons in the streets with radiation levels significantly above background levels. The site shows evidence of a sudden disaster with bodies left unburied, unusual in a culture with complex burial traditions. Some sections appear to show melted stonework. In the Gobi Desert, researchers have identified areas of fused green glass similar to that created by the first atomic tests in New Mexico. Ancient cities in India's Rajasthan region show evidence of intense heat damage consistent with powerful explosions rather than conventional warfare or accidental fires. Perhaps most compelling are the numerous examples of out-of-place artifacts, objects found in geological strata where they simply shouldn't exist, according to conventional timelines. These include metal objects embedded in coal formations millions of years, old and sophisticated tools found in deeply ancient layers. The London hammer, discovered in 1936, was found embedded in rock dated to the Cretaceous period, over 65 million years ago. Metallurgical analysis showed the hammerhead to be of unusual purity, made with techniques supposedly unavailable until the modern era. Similar anomalies include the Koso artifact, a spark plug-like object discovered inside a 500,000-year-old geode. Metal spheres with precise grooves found in 2.8 billion-year-old pyrophyllite deposits in South Africa. and numerous coin-like objects recovered from deep mining operations worldwide. While individual examples might be dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications, their cumulative weight becomes harder to ignore. These findings contradict our understanding of human technological development and suggest either incredible anomalies in the geological record or evidence of advanced ancient technology. What makes these myths and anomalous artifacts particularly significant is their distribution pattern. They appear globally but concentrate around regions that would have been most hospitable during and immediately after the Younger Dryas period, precisely where we would expect catastrophe survivors to settle. The Mediterranean Basin, Fertile Crescent, Indus Valley, Yellow River Basin, and American Southwest all preserve numerous technological myths and anomalous artifacts. These regions also show evidence of rapid cultural development shortly after the Younger Dryas period, as if knowledge was being re-established. When we examine these myths not as fantasies, but as potential historical accounts transmitted through generations, patterns emerge that align remarkably well with geological evidence. They describe a world destroyed by a combination of floods, fire from the sky, and subsequent climate change. This perspective transforms our understanding of ancient texts. Rather than dismissing them as imagination, we might recognize them as preserving crucial information about our past, transmitted through generations using the best methods available to pre-literate societies. Memorable stories embedding key details within metaphorical language. Chapter 7. The Pattern of Forgotten Worlds. As we've examined the geological, archaeological, and mythological evidence surrounding the Younger Dryas event, a disturbing pattern has emerged. Human civilization may follow cycles of advancement and collapse rather than the linear progression conventional history presents. The implications are profound. If advanced societies have risen and fallen repeatedly throughout human existence, we must reconsider our understanding of human potential and vulnerability. The capabilities we consider uniquely modern may have been discovered and lost multiple times, raising unsettling questions about our own civilization's future. More immediately, this pattern challenges our fundamental conception of history itself. The conventional narrative positions our modern technological society as the pinnacle of human achievement, the most advanced civilization to ever exist. But what if we are merely rediscovering what was once known? The evidence suggests a particularly advanced global culture may have existed before the Younger Dryas catastrophe. This civilization likely possessed sophisticated mathematical knowledge, advanced engineering capabilities, and a comprehensive understanding of astronomical cycles beyond what conventional history acknowledges. When the cataclysm struck, whether through cosmic impact, massive solar flare, or some combination of natural disasters, this civilization was devastated. Rising sea levels would have destroyed coastal settlements. Climate disruption would have collapsed agricultural systems. Survivors would have scattered inland. In the aftermath, these survivors would have faced extraordinary challenges. With infrastructure destroyed, population decimated, and resources scarce, preserving knowledge would become a paramount concern. The most crucial information, astronomical cycles, mathematical principles, engineering techniques, would need preservation. This necessity might explain one of archaeology's most puzzling features: the appearance of massive stone monuments encoding precise mathematical and astronomical knowledge shortly after the Younger Dryas period. These structures may represent not the first flowering of human ingenuity, but desperate attempts to preserve crucial knowledge. Consider Göbekli Tepe not as a primitive temple, but as a sophisticated astronomical observatory designed to track celestial cycles. Its burial around 8000 BCE makes perfect sense if its builders were creating a time capsule, preserving information they feared might otherwise be lost to future generations. Similar motivations might explain the extraordinary effort invested in megalithic structures worldwide. Their astronomical alignments, mathematical encodings, and precise engineering may represent attempts to preserve critical knowledge in the most durable form available. Massive stone constructions likely to survive millennia. The pattern continues through subsequent catastrophes. Archaeological evidence suggests numerous societal collapses throughout history, often coinciding with climate disruptions, volcanic eruptions, or other natural disasters. Each collapse is followed by a dark age where knowledge is lost before gradual rediscovery. The Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BCE saw numerous advanced Mediterranean civilizations fall simultaneously. The subsequent Greek Dark Ages lasted centuries before knowledge began to be recovered. Similar patterns appear following the fall of Rome, the Mayan collapse, and numerous other societal disruptions. This cycle of advancement, catastrophe, regression, and rediscovery may have repeated numerous times throughout human existence. With each iteration, some knowledge is preserved, some lost, and some rediscovered independently, creating the complex mosaic of human development we observe in the archaeological record. What makes this pattern particularly disturbing is its implications for our present civilization. If advanced societies have been repeatedly destroyed by natural catastrophes, our own technological culture remains vulnerable despite our apparent mastery of nature. The forces that caused previous collapses still exist. Cosmic impacts continue to threaten Earth. The Tunguska event in 1908 released energy equivalent to 10 to 15 megatons of TNT, devastating over 2,000 square kilometers of Siberian forest. Had it occurred over a major city, millions would have died. Such events happen with concerning regularity in geological terms. Solar flares represent another existential threat, rarely considered in historical context. The Carrington event of 1859, a powerful geomagnetic storm caused by a solar coronal mass ejection, created auroras, visible worldwide and disrupted telegraph systems. Today, a similar event could collapse our electrical grid globally. Supervolcanic eruptions occur roughly every 50,000 years. The Toba eruption approximately 75,000 years ago may have reduced human population to fewer than 10,000 individuals worldwide. Our modern civilization has never experienced such an eruption, yet the geological record confirms their regular occurrence. Rapid climate shifts like the Younger Dryas cooling occur throughout Earth's history. While gradual climate change allows adaptation, abrupt shifts can collapse agricultural systems and trigger mass migrations within decades. Despite our technology, our food systems remain vulnerable to sudden climate disruptions. Perhaps most alarming is our civilization's unprecedented interdependence. While ancient societies were largely self-sufficient at local levels, our global systems rely on complex supply chains, electronic communications, and just-in-time delivery of essential goods. This efficiency creates dangerous fragility. A solar flare destroying electrical infrastructure, a pandemic disrupting global trade, or an impact winter reducing agricultural yields could trigger cascading failures throughout our interconnected systems. Modern humans are less equipped for self-sufficiency than our ancestors, making population centers particularly vulnerable to systemic collapse. If previous advanced civilizations existed and fell, they likely faced similar challenges. They too would have developed interdependencies that became vulnerabilities. They too might have considered themselves masters of their environment, only to discover nature's capacity for sudden, devastating change. This perspective transforms how we view human history and our place within it. Rather than standing at the pinnacle of human achievement, we may be participating in a recurring cycle, building systems that appear robust but contain hidden fragilities, accumulating knowledge while forgetting the lessons of collapse. The myth of perpetual progress, the belief that human advancement moves ever upward without significant reversals, may be our most dangerous delusion. The archaeological record suggests advancement is neither guaranteed nor irreversible. Knowledge gained can be lost. Civilizations built can fall. Yet within this sobering pattern lies a more hopeful possibility. If human societies have repeatedly advanced and collapsed, it demonstrates our species' remarkable resilience. After each catastrophe, survivors have rebuilt, rediscovered, and advanced once again, preserving crucial knowledge through dark ages until Renaissance becomes possible. The megalithic structures that puzzle archaeologists may represent the most successful of these preservation efforts. Information encoded in stone that has survived when more sophisticated but fragile recording methods failed. These monuments may contain messages from previous advanced societies intentionally preserved for future recovery. This recognition shifts our understanding of ancient sites from primitive religious centers to sophisticated information storage systems, the hard drives of previous civilizations designed to survive catastrophe and preserve crucial knowledge through the dark ages that their builders knew would follow. The myths of lost golden ages and global floods may serve similar purposes, encoding critical information about astronomical cycles, climate shifts, and natural disasters in memorable narratives that could be transmitted orally through generations until writing systems could be re-established after collapse. If this interpretation is correct, we aren't merely studying our past when we examine ancient sites and myths. We're recovering messages intentionally preserved for us by previous advanced societies. They expected catastrophe and created systems to transmit crucial knowledge to survivors. The most unsettling aspect of this pattern is the implication that these previous societies also believed themselves exceptional, capable of overcoming natural constraints through technology and knowledge. Yet the evidence suggests their confidence was misplaced. Despite their advancement, they fell to forces beyond their control. As our own civilization faces mounting environmental challenges, resource constraints, and continuing cosmic threats, the pattern of previous collapses takes on urgent relevance. Are we repeating the same cycle of overconfidence? Have we misunderstood our vulnerability to the same forces that ended previous advanced societies? The ultimate stakes of understanding what happened 12,000 years ago thus extend far beyond academic curiosity. If we've misunderstood our past, we may have dangerously miscalculated our future. The forces that ended previous civilizations remain active. Our technological systems face the same cosmic threats. By recognizing this cycle, we gain the opportunity to break it, to build not just advanced systems but resilient ones, to preserve knowledge not just in fragile digital formats, but in durable forms that might survive catastrophe. We might learn from the megalithic builders how to create truly long-term information storage. Most importantly, we might recognize that our greatest vulnerability lies not in our technology, but in our psychology, in the myth of perpetual progress that blinds us to cyclical patterns and the fragility of complex systems. Previous advanced civilizations likely shared this same delusion before their collapse. As we continue examining the evidence for what happened 12,000 years ago, we're not merely reconstructing ancient history, we're potentially glimpsing our own future. The message preserved in stone, myth, and geological record may be the most important warning we've ever received. The question is whether we'll heed it. Chapter 8: The Cosmic Convergence. As we've explored the evidence for a global cataclysm approximately 12,000 years ago, multiple theories have emerged to explain what might have happened. Each offers a different perspective on the same evidence, and each has its strengths and weaknesses. Let's examine the most compelling explanations. The comet impact hypothesis represents the most widely supported scientific explanation. First proposed formally in 2007 as the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. This theory suggests Earth encountered a fragmented comet around 12,800 years ago, with multiple airbursts and impacts across the northern hemisphere. The evidence supporting this theory is substantial. Nanodiamonds, magnetic spherules, and platinum enrichment appear consistently in the geological layer, marking the beginning of the Younger Dryas period. These materials are typically associated with cosmic impacts and appear across multiple continents at exactly the same time horizon. Recent discoveries strengthen this hypothesis. In 2018, researchers identified a massive impact crater beneath Greenland's ice sheet. The Hiawatha crater measures approximately 31 kilometers in diameter and has been provisionally dated to the Younger Dryas boundary, though dating remains somewhat controversial. Additional suspected impact sites have been identified across North America and parts of Europe. Rather than a single large impact like the one that killed the dinosaurs, this event may have involved multiple smaller impacts and airbursts from a disintegrating comet, creating widespread destruction across the northern hemisphere. Computer simulations suggest such an event could indeed trigger the rapid climate cooling observed in the Younger Dryas period. Dust and soot from impact-generated wildfires would have blocked sunlight, potentially for years, creating an impact winter similar to the theorized nuclear winter of Cold War scenarios. This theory elegantly explains many observed phenomena: the sudden extinction of North American megafauna, the abrupt climate reversal, the continent-wide evidence of massive wildfires, and the simultaneous disappearance of the Clovis culture. It aligns perfectly with the timing of these events. However, critics note that not all regions show evidence of impact. The southern hemisphere appears less affected, and some researchers question whether the discovered impact markers truly represent a single event rather than accumulated materials over longer periods. The debate continues in scientific literature. The second major theory involves a massive solar flare or series of flares, sometimes called a solar micronova. This hypothesis suggests our Sun experienced an extreme coronal mass ejection that directly impacted Earth with devastating consequences far beyond anything observed in modern times. While less supported by mainstream science than the comet hypothesis, the solar flare theory addresses certain anomalies not easily explained by impact scenarios. Ancient descriptions of fire from the sky and widespread accounts of intense heat could represent cultural memories of solar plasma interaction with Earth's atmosphere. The Carrington event of 1859, the largest recorded solar storm in modern history, provides a small-scale example of such phenomena. It created auroras visible worldwide and disrupted telegraph systems, causing fires in some telegraph offices. A significantly larger event could create far more devastating effects. Recent astronomical research has revealed that stars similar to our Sun occasionally produce superflares, hundreds or thousands of times more powerful than anything observed in modern times. If our Sun experienced such an event, the electromagnetic and radiation effects could devastate a technologically advanced civilization. A massive solar flare could explain the electrical-like scarring visible on some megalithic structures, the radiation anomalies at sites like Mohenjo-Daro, and might account for the vitrified forts found across Europe. It could also explain some of the peculiar electrical references in ancient texts. However, this theory struggles to explain the impact-related materials found at the Younger Dryas boundary. While a solar eruption might trigger climate effects, it wouldn't produce nanodiamonds or platinum enrichment. Critics also question whether even an extreme solar event could cause the rapid cooling observed. A third possibility combines elements of both theories, suggesting Earth may have experienced both cosmic impacts and solar outbursts, possibly in a causal relationship. Some researchers propose that debris from a large comet passing through the inner solar system might have triggered increased solar activity. This combination theory addresses more evidence points than either theory alone. The impact evidence is explained by comet fragments, while the unusual electrical and radiation anomalies could result from solar activity. The combined effects could create the devastating scenario reflected in worldwide myths. The strongest evidence for this combined approach comes from ice core samples showing both impact-related materials and evidence of unusual atmospheric chemistry that might result from intense solar radiation. Ancient accounts describing both fire from the sky and stones falling from heaven also suggest multiple phenomena. What makes this period particularly significant is a rare astronomical alignment that occurred approximately 12,900 years ago. Earth's orbit brought us through both the torrid meteor string and a position of reduced magnetic field strength, potentially exposing our planet to both increased meteor activity and reduced protection from solar radiation. This cosmic convergence of factors, Earth's orbital position, reduced magnetic protection, passage through meteor streams, and potential proximity to comet fragments might create a perfect storm of catastrophic conditions that only occurs in intervals of many thousands of years. Such a convergence would explain why this particular period shows evidence of catastrophe far exceeding other cosmic impact or solar events. It wasn't just one phenomenon, but a combination of astronomical factors creating a truly exceptional moment of vulnerability for our planet. What's particularly troubling about this convergence theory is that these astronomical cycles are predictable and recurring. The same alignments that may have created the Younger Dryas catastrophe will eventually occur again. The question isn't if similar conditions will return, but when. These competing theories continue to be debated in scientific literature, with new evidence emerging regularly. What's most significant is that all point to the same conclusion. Approximately 12,800 years ago, Earth experienced an extraordinary catastrophe that fundamentally altered climate patterns, caused mass extinctions, and potentially reset human civilization. The impact on human societies would have been devastating regardless of which specific mechanism caused the cataclysm. Coastal settlements would have been destroyed by tsunamis and rising sea levels. Agricultural areas would have faced years of cooling and reduced sunlight. Population centers would have collapsed. Only the most resilient communities would survive, likely those in protected locations with access to reliable food sources that could withstand climate disruption. These survivors would face the dual challenge of immediate survival and preserving crucial knowledge for future generations. This scenario provides a compelling explanation for one of archaeology's most persistent puzzles: the apparent simultaneous invention of agriculture in multiple locations worldwide shortly after the Younger Dryas period. Rather than independent invention, this might represent the implementation of preserved knowledge by catastrophe survivors. Similarly, the sudden appearance of sophisticated astronomical knowledge encoded in megalithic structures makes perfect sense if viewed as preservation efforts rather than new discoveries. The builders weren't primitive people slowly developing astronomical understanding, but survivors, implementing knowledge inherited from a more advanced past. As we weigh these competing theories, we're not merely engaging in academic speculation, but potentially recognizing patterns crucial to our future survival. The forces that created the Younger Dryas catastrophe, whether cosmic impact, solar activity, or a combination of factors, remain active in our solar system today. Chapter 9. The evidence we've overlooked. Recent scientific advances have begun revealing evidence long hidden from conventional archaeology. New technologies like ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, and underwater exploration are exposing sites that challenge our understanding of human history and capabilities before the Younger Dryas event. Perhaps most significant are discoveries beneath the waves. With sea levels approximately 400 feet lower during the last ice age, vast coastal plains, the most logical locations for advanced maritime civilizations, now lie underwater. Only recently have we developed the technology to properly explore these submerged landscapes. The systematic mapping of these submerged coastlines has revealed numerous artificial structures and organized stone arrangements that appear inconsistent with natural formation. Off the coast of Japan, India, Malta, Cuba, and throughout the Mediterranean, underwater sites show evidence of sophisticated construction now hidden beneath the seas. The Bimini Road in the Bahamas, long dismissed as a natural formation, has recently been reassessed through advanced imaging techniques. The regular spacing, right angles, and consistent sizing of the stone blocks increasingly suggest artificial construction rather than random natural processes as originally claimed. Similarly, structures near the island of Yonaguni in Japan show characteristics difficult to explain through natural processes alone. Straight edges, regular angles, and features resembling stairs, columns, and walls. While mainstream archaeology remains skeptical, these formations continue puzzling ocean geologists. Advances in dating technologies have created additional paradoxes. New methods examining surface erosion patterns, material crystallization, and trace element distribution have suggested some megalithic structures may be significantly older than conventional dating indicates, potentially predating the Younger Dryas boundary. The Great Sphinx of Egypt presents a particularly compelling example. Geologists examining its distinctive weathering patterns have concluded it shows evidence of prolonged water erosion inconsistent with Egypt's arid climate over the past 5,000 years. This suggests construction potentially thousands of years earlier. For the Sphinx to show such weathering, it would need to have been constructed when Egypt experienced regular heavy rainfall, a condition that hasn't existed since approximately 5,000 to 7,000 BCE. This places its potential origin well before the conventionally accepted date of 2500 BCE. Similar weathering anomalies appear at other megalithic sites worldwide. Many show erosion patterns inconsistent with local climate conditions during their supposed construction period, but perfectly aligned with conditions immediately following the Younger Dryas period, when survivors might have been rebuilding. Advanced imaging technologies have revealed other surprises. LiDAR scanning, which uses lasers to penetrate dense vegetation and map ground surfaces, has revolutionized archaeological exploration in jungle regions, revealing vast urban complexes previously hidden beneath tropical foliage. In Guatemala alone, LiDAR has identified more than 60,000 previously unknown Maya structures, revealing a civilization far more extensive and sophisticated than previously recognized. Similar discoveries in Cambodia suggest Angkor Wat was surrounded by urban sprawl, rivaling modern cities in scale and complexity. Most relevant to our investigation, these scanning technologies have identified geometric patterns and alignments connecting ancient sites across vast distances. When mapped globally, many megalithic structures form precise mathematical relationships that would require sophisticated surveying capabilities and geographical knowledge to establish. For example, the Great Pyramid at Giza, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Easter Island, and Nazca Lines in Peru form an almost perfect geometric pattern when plotted on a sphere. The mathematical precision suggests intentional placement requiring comprehensive knowledge of Earth's dimensions and shape. Such global positioning would be impossible without advanced navigational knowledge and a comprehensive understanding of spherical geometry. Yet according to conventional history, these structures were built by separate civilizations with no contact, at different times, with no knowledge of global geography. The simpler explanation that they share a common source in an earlier, maritime civilization with advanced mathematical knowledge has been rejected by mainstream archaeology despite its greater explanatory power. This represents a curious inversion of Occam's razor in archaeological reasoning. Genetic studies provide additional evidence for pre-catastrophe connections between supposedly isolated cultures. Recent DNA analysis has identified unexpected genetic markers linking ancient Eurasian and American populations, suggesting contact well before conventional history allows for transoceanic travel. Similarly, linguistic analysis has identified root similarities between languages conventionally believed to have developed independently. Certain fundamental word patterns and grammatical structures appear across language families separated by vast distances, suggesting earlier common origins or contact. archaeological discoveries continue challenging conventional timelines. In Turkey, the recently excavated site of Karahan Tepe appears to be even older than Göbekli Tepe, pushing sophisticated stonework and astronomical knowledge back to approximately 13,000 years ago, before the Younger Dryas event. At Gunung Padang in Indonesia, what was long thought to be a natural hill has been revealed as a massive, multi-layered pyramid potentially dating to 20,000 years ago. Core drilling samples suggest sophisticated construction techniques, including the use of concrete-like materials, previously thought unavailable until Roman times. Perhaps most puzzling are recurring mathematical constants encoded in ancient structures worldwide. The value of pi, the golden ratio, the precise dimensions of Earth, and specific astronomical cycles appear encoded in the measurements and alignments of megalithic sites across multiple continents. These mathematical encodings become particularly significant when we consider their precision. The Great Pyramid's dimensions encode the value of pi to several decimal places. Its positioning marks Earth's landmass center with extraordinary accuracy. Its orientation aligns precisely to true north with minimal error. Such precision suggests not primitive approximation, but sophisticated mathematical knowledge deliberately preserved in stone. Exactly what we would expect if survivors of an advanced civilization were attempting to safeguard crucial information through a coming dark age. The most compelling new evidence comes from paleoclimatology, the study of ancient climate systems. Advanced ice core analysis has revealed that the Younger Dryas cooling was even more abrupt than previously recognized, with some regions experiencing temperature drops of 10 to 15 degrees Celsius within a single decade. Such rapid climate change defies conventional climate models and suggests an extraordinary triggering event. The speed and magnitude of this shift would have been catastrophic for human societies, particularly those dependent on established agricultural patterns or stable coastal conditions. What makes this climate evidence particularly significant is how perfectly it aligns with the timing of mass extinctions, cultural discontinuities, and the first appearance of sophisticated megalithic structures. The correlation strongly suggests these phenomena are connected rather than coincidental. Astronomical discoveries provide additional context. Recent studies of solar behavior suggest our sun experiences cycles of activity far longer and more extreme than previously recognized. Beyond the familiar 11-year sunspot cycle lie grand minimums and maximums that can dramatically affect Earth's climate. More concerning are discoveries about the stability of Earth's magnetic field. Geological evidence indicates our planet's magnetic protection occasionally weakens dramatically or even reverses completely. During these periods, Earth becomes more vulnerable to solar radiation and cosmic particles. Evidence suggests one such weakening may have coincided with the Younger Dryas period, potentially exposing Earth to solar activity with limited magnetic protection. This combination could explain some of the more puzzling aspects of the catastrophe, including radiation anomalies at archaeological sites. As these diverse scientific fields converge, they collectively suggest a scenario far more complex and compelling than either conventional history or fringe speculation has proposed. The evidence points to a sophisticated global civilization existing before the Younger Dryas catastrophe, possessing advanced maritime, mathematical, and astronomical knowledge. This civilization was devastated by a combination of cosmic impact, solar activity, rapid climate change, and rising sea levels, a perfect storm of catastrophic conditions that left few survivors. Those who remained faced the challenge of rebuilding while preserving crucial knowledge for future generations. The megalithic structures that puzzle archaeologists today may represent their most successful preservation effort, information encoded in stone that has survived when more fragile recording methods failed. These monuments may contain messages intentionally preserved for future recovery after collapse. Chapter 10. Echoes of a Lost World. Throughout this exploration, We've examined evidence suggesting a different understanding of human history, one that includes advanced civilization before conventional timelines allow, catastrophic destruction around 12,800 years ago, and the subsequent struggle of survivors to rebuild and preserve knowledge. This perspective resolves numerous archaeological paradoxes. It explains the sudden appearance of sophisticated megalithic architecture without clear developmental stages. It clarifies why ancient structures often encode advanced mathematical and astronomical knowledge supposedly unavailable to their builders. It addresses the curious patterns seen at many ancient sites where the oldest constructions show greater precision and sophistication than later additions, exactly what we would expect if inherited knowledge was gradually being lost rather than progressively gained through independent discovery. It explains the widespread distribution of flood myths and Golden Age legends across isolated cultures. These wouldn't represent parallel fictional inventions, but cultural memories of actual events. The devastation of an advanced maritime civilization by rising seas and the loss of capabilities that followed. Most significantly, it resolves the central paradox of human development, the apparent quantum leaps in knowledge that appear throughout the archaeological record. These wouldn't represent miraculous insights or alien intervention, but the rediscovery of knowledge preserved from earlier advanced societies. The evidence converges around a compelling scenario. Prior to the Younger Dryas event, a sophisticated maritime civilization had developed along the now submerged coastlines of the Ice Age world. This culture possessed advanced astronomical, mathematical, and navigational knowledge. They likely established trading networks and outposts globally, explaining shared cultural elements across supposedly isolated regions. Their primary centers would have been along coastal areas now hundreds of feet beneath the ocean, precisely where conventional archaeology rarely explores. When disaster struck, whether through cosmic impacts, solar activity, or a combination of factors, this civilization was devastated. Rising seas swallowed coastal settlements. Climate disruption destroyed agricultural systems. Infrastructure collapsed. The majority of the population perished. Survivors scattered to protected regions, mountain valleys, inland plateaus, and other refuges from flooding and climate extremes. There, they faced an extraordinary challenge, preserving essential knowledge through a coming dark age while focusing on immediate survival needs. Their solution was ingenious: encode crucial information in monuments built to survive millennia. The earliest post-catastrophe structures, like Göbekli Tepe, appear to preserve sophisticated astronomical knowledge, star positions, precession cycles, and orbital information critical for future calendar development. Other survivors preserved information through oral traditions, creating memorable myths, encoding information about astronomical cycles, climate patterns, and navigation techniques. These stories, designed for memorization and transmissions, became the worldwide myths we know today. As millennia passed, the literal meaning of these myths and monuments became increasingly obscured. What began as practical knowledge, encoded for preservation, gradually transformed into religious symbolism and cultural tradition as the original context was forgotten. By the time writing systems emerged around 3000 BCE, much of this knowledge had been lost or so thoroughly transformed that its original purpose was unrecognizable. What remained were fragments, mathematical constants preserved in temple dimensions, astronomical alignments in megalithic structures, and symbolic references in creation myths. This pattern of preservation, loss, and rediscovery explains one of archaeology's most persistent puzzles: why advanced knowledge often appears fully formed in the historical record rather than developing gradually through clear evolutionary stages. We're not seeing original discovery, but fragmented rediscovery. The implications extend far beyond academic curiosity. If this interpretation is correct, it suggests human civilization follows cycles rather than linear progression. Advanced societies develop, face catastrophe, collapse, and eventually rebuild. with each cycle preserving some knowledge while losing other aspects. A modern technological civilization represents not an unprecedented pinnacle of human achievement, but the latest iteration in this cycle of advancement and collapse. The capabilities we consider uniquely modern may have been discovered and lost repeatedly throughout human existence. This cyclical view transforms our understanding of both past and future. The ancient structures that puzzle archaeologists become not merely religious monuments, but sophisticated information storage systems, the hard drives of a fallen civilization designed to preserve crucial knowledge through dark ages. The myths describing advanced technologies in golden ages become not primitive fantasies, but cultural memories of actual capabilities. Descriptions of a lost world transmitted through generations until their literal meaning became obscured by metaphorical language and religious interpretation. Most significantly, this perspective challenges our assumption of continuous progress. If advanced civilizations have repeatedly risen and fallen throughout human existence, our own technological society remains vulnerable to the same forces that caused previous collapses: cosmic impacts, solar activity, climate disruption, and resource depletion. What makes our situation unique is not our technological sophistication, but our understanding of this cycle. For the first time, we possess the scientific capability to recognize the pattern of previous collapses and potentially break the cycle by building more resilient systems and preserving knowledge more effectively. The megalithic builders encoded information in stone because it survives when more sophisticated but fragile recording methods fail. Today, our most important information exists primarily in electronic formats vulnerable to electromagnetic disruption, power loss, and media degradation over relatively short timeframes. A solar flare like the Carrington event of 1859 would devastate our information infrastructure if it occurred today. Our vast knowledge repositories could be wiped out in moments by the same cosmic forces that may have ended previous advanced civilizations. This vulnerability represents our greatest existential risk. By recognizing the pattern of previous collapses, we gain the opportunity to break the cycle, to build not just advanced systems but resilient ones, to preserve knowledge not just in fragile digital formats, but in durable forms that might survive catastrophe, to prepare for the cosmic threats we now understand. The ultimate message encoded in ancient monuments may be this warning: technological advancement without corresponding resilience leads inevitably to collapse when cosmic cycles bring catastrophe. The megalithic builders weren't merely preserving information. They were trying to warn us about the nature of the cycle itself. Their warning comes at a crucial moment. The astronomical cycles that may have contributed to the Younger Dryas catastrophe continue their slow progression. The cosmic threats that ended previous civilizations remain active. Our technological systems face the same vulnerabilities that doomed our predecessors. By understanding what happened 12,000 years ago, we gain not just insight into our past, but guidance for our future. The evidence suggests we are not the first advanced civilization to inhabit Earth, and unless we learn from those who came before, we may suffer the same fate when cosmic cycles bring catastrophe once again. The choice before us is clear. Continue believing in the myth of perpetual progress while ignoring the cyclical nature of catastrophe, or recognize the pattern preserved in stone and myth by those who came before us, and use this understanding to break the cycle of collapse that has shaped human history. This is the profound revelation hidden within the mystery of what happened 12,000 years ago. We are not the first to achieve technological sophistication, not the first to harness Earth's resources, not the first to develop global networks of trade and communication. And unless we learn from the past, we will not be the last to fall. As we conclude our exploration of this ancient mystery, we're left with a profound paradox. The more we discover about our distant past, the more we recognize patterns relevant to our future. The catastrophe that may have reset human civilization 12,000 years ago reveals both our vulnerability and our resilience. Throughout human existence, we have faced extinction-level threats and survived, not without loss, but with remarkable adaptability. After each catastrophe, survivors have preserved crucial knowledge, rebuilt communities, and eventually rediscovered what was lost. This cycle of collapse and renewal defines our species. The megalithic structures that puzzle modern archaeologists stand as testaments to this resilience. Messages in stone from those who came before, preserving knowledge they knew would be crucial for future recovery. Their efforts speak across millennia, reminding us that catastrophe is not the end, but a transition. As we face mounting environmental challenges, resource constraints, and continuing cosmic threats, this ancient message takes on renewed urgency. We are not exempt from the cycles that have shaped human history. The forces that ended previous advanced societies remain active in our world today. Yet, unlike our predecessors, we possess the scientific understanding to recognize these patterns and potentially break the cycle, to build resilient systems capable of withstanding catastrophe, to preserve knowledge in formats that might survive collapse, to prepare for threats we now comprehend. In this recognition lies our greatest opportunity. By understanding what happened 12,000 years ago, we gain not just insight into our past but guidance for our future. The evidence suggests we stand at a critical juncture, capable of either repeating the cycle of collapse or transcending it through foresight and preparation. The choice is ours. Will we heed the warning encoded in stone by those who came before? Or will future civilizations puzzle over our ruins as we have puzzled over theirs, wondering how a technologically advanced society could fail to recognize the cosmic cycles that shape Earth's destiny? The answer lies not just in technological solutions, but in wisdom. The recognition that true advancement comes not merely from innovation, but from resilience, not just from expansion, but from sustainability, not simply from power, but from the humility to learn from those who face these challenges before us.